in this. Wait for green check marks. Mile high hello, everybody in Broncos country. Welcome into another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. I am your host, Lance Sanderson, and joining me, as per usual, is my good friend and colleague. He is Mile High Huddle's senior NFL draft analyst. The one and only Erick Trickel. Erick, dude, kind of dealing with some stuff here. I've got this weird chest cold, as everybody, I'm guessing, could probably hear, but excited to be here as always, man. We have the Broncos' very first game coming up on Monday. We're going to break this down and everything. How you doing, man? You excited for real, actual, regular season football? It's been way too long, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I wasn't intending on watching the game last night, but I decided to, and the Bills sure look like the real deal. And I mean, the fact that they were able to do what they did defensively up front without having to blitz, being able to get those turnovers just by rushing forward consistently, it opens so much with the coverage. That one 6th-round rookie corner that he started off rough, but he kind of bounced back a little bit. Like, they're looking like a well-coached team, well-oiled machine that, I mean, it was easy to see why they're the Super Bowl favorites.
No, absolutely, man. Like, Josh Allen looks absolutely fantastic. And I know you put it out on your Twitter account earlier the other day. It might have been early this morning, saying, like, our pre-draft conceptions of Josh Allen were definitely far off. Like, this guy has come from a raw prospect that just has a massive arm and great athleticism to becoming an actual pinpoint accurate passer. That was the one thing that everybody, kind of harped on with Josh Allen was his accuracy was always like his completion percentage was always really bad. But there were also a lot of times where he would put the ball on his receiver's hands and they would drop it at Wyoming. Now he actually has competent receivers, and you're seeing this guy transform into arguably the best quarterback in the game. And as a Wyoming guy, a guy from Wyoming, he just looks absolutely fantastic. I'm so excited to see him and this Bills team this year. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I really do.
Yeah, the thing with Allen is, like, you don't see players develop at the quarterback position like he has hardly ever. He is a complete anomaly when it comes to the development of quarterbacks. Even Patrick Mahomes didn't quite have the development he had because, well, he still had a lot to work with. It wasn't near as much. Patrick Mahomes was still more accurate and a little bit more precise. Josh Allen's placement, I mean, yeah, sure, the receivers dropped it. Every quarterback deals with that. And part of the issue with the receivers dropping passes was that he couldn't tempo his passes a lot. It was just always 110% rockets. And when he was able to get the ball there, like, then you had to see it. Could they actually catch the heater? And that was just a whole other element to his game that he had developed. And it's just been absolutely amazing. One of the things that I'm absolutely, happy to eat crow on. I like eating crow when I'm wrong about opinion on a player. But anybody who said this was the Josh Allen that we were going to get in the NFL, they're lying to you. Yep. Nobody expected this caliber of player from him. Yeah. Even at his best, even those who were the biggest supporters, they weren't expecting this.
No, I was a Josh Allen fan just because, obviously, the Wyoming Cowboys fan. I want to see Josh Allen do well. I didn't think he was going to be this good. I figured the ceiling for him was going to be that Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr area of quarterback, not the number one quarterback in the league. Which, honestly, if he continues to project to grow at this level that he is right now, we're talking maybe one of the greatest quarterbacks we'll ever see play this game. Because honestly, he is playing the game at a level we have not seen in a very long time. Not since with the physical gifts and stuff like that. I'm not talking precision and the mental game of it, but with the physical gifts that he has, we're talking going back to John Elway. Seriously, this kid is just phenomenal, man. It's amazing.
Yeah. Before we get into the announcements and everything, when we're done with that, I want to touch on the whole Von Miller conversation in here that's going on in the chat a little bit, but we got to get through some announcements first.
Yeah, first things first, thank you all for joining us on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. Obviously, you guys know where to find us on Twitter at Sanderson MHH and at Erick Trickel. Also for Scott, we have Scott tonight. Scott is running the ones and twos behind the scenes. Thank you, Scott. Follow him at Scout Kennedy, but we also have to give a massive shout out to our supporting sponsor in tonight's show, in Pristine Auctions. Erick, what's up with Pristine Auctions, man?
PristineAuction.com is back with Mile High Huddle. PristineAuction.com is the most trusted sports memorabilia auction site with an A+ triple B rating. We are teaming up with Pristine Auction once again on another great giveaway. Viewers can win a Peyton Manning signed frame photo. Check out our Twitter page for pics of this great piece of memorabilia. To win, all you have to do is head to PristineAuction.com and click register on the top of the page, or just follow the link in the podcast description. When you register, use our registration code Elway to be entered. And as a bonus, Pristine Auction will kick in $10 off your first winning auction. Every item on PristineAuction.com comes with a certificate of authenticity from the industry's most reputable authenticators.
Yeah, guys, like upgrade your collection of signed memorabilia today. Get $10 off your first item one when you use the code Elway when you sign up. Again, pristineauction.com/register or use the link in the show description. Just use the code Elway, get $10 off your first item one. Be entered to draw that Peyton Manning signed frame photo. The drawing will be held on Monday, September 19th. And speaking of memorabilia, Eric, I see yours right above your head. Give me a second, guys, because we have a great friend of the show, a great friend of ours personally, Stu McPeak, saying hi here really fast with a $20 super. Stu, what's up, man? Thank you. He says hi all, and thanks, Stu, for joining us. But Albert Knoppers jumping in here. He says, hello, guys. We told everybody that we had these special mailboxes sent to us. This is mine right here. This is Albert Knoppers' handiwork. I believe that the Broncos logo on this thing is hand painted. On the other side has my kids' names and everything. On the back, it has Albert and Michelle Knoppers on it. These things are absolutely fantastic. And Albert, we definitely appreciate you for sending us these wonderful pieces of art, man. And I see Erick's back behind his head and everything. They're just incredible quality, man. And thank you so much for that wonderful gift from you, man. And I can't wait to talk to you again in person. And I wish I could be there at the meet and greet to say hello again. But man, for my end of things, that's one of my most favorite pieces in my collection right now.
Yeah, Albert, thank you. I mean, as you can see, it's just right up here for mine. I absolutely love it. My wife loves it too. On the other side of it, it has a bit of Seahawks because my wife is a Seahawks fan. Things in the household are a little bit rough with the game upcoming, but she'll soon to accept the impending loss. But anyways, Albert, we absolutely love it. Thank you so much for it, man. We really appreciate it. Garth Knight comes in with a $4.99 donation. What's Josey's injury, gang? I see he's questionable. I'm really hoping he plays MHH. Let's ride. Yeah, I mean, he suffered a calf injury. Don't know much more about it. It doesn't sound promising for him to play. I mean, Evero kind of talked about it as like, well, he's going to his comment came off like he's going to miss this game. We're going to be turning to Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad. They're going to be ready. Mike Kliss' reporting on it seems to suggest the same thing. I hope that he plays. Denver could really use him because there's a significant drop off to Alex Singleton and an even bigger drop off to Justin Strnad. So hoping he plays, we'll get more of an idea tomorrow, but doesn't look promising at the moment. Now, I want to go back a little bit as we were talking about the Bills, and we saw the whole conversation going on with Von Miller. And there was a couple of comments that were made that just weren't exactly, accurate. Denver didn't choose Vic Fangio over Von Miller. Vic Fangio wouldn't have benched Von Miller if he could. Like, those are just completely not true. Denver chose additional money. They chose additional flexibility over Von Miller. They got that additional flexibility with the draft picks that they're able to turn around and flip to help get Russell Wilson. The issue here is that they're betting on the potential and upside of Randy Gregory with how many games he's missed due to injury and suspension for a little bit cheaper and didn't even give Von Miller a call. Like, there's every reason to be upset that you don't even give Von Miller a call afterwards. As free agency. I know that the cost was, and I know that eventually the cost would have been, the deciding factor that they would have backed out on. Whatever. Denver is third in available cap space at the moment for this year. Like, they could have easily made it work, even with Russell Wilson's contract coming up. And, well, at the time, having to do an extension with Russell Wilson, that is now done. Like, they could have easily worked around it. It wasn't super hard to do that. It just seemed that there was other stuff off the field. That's why they didn't want to go that way. And honestly, Randy Gregory has to live up to this potential. Otherwise, the issues of them not even calling Von Miller just grow even more.
Yeah, and the problem is that Randy Gregory had that shoulder surgery, and it sounds like he's kind of nicked up still coming back from that. He also has a knee issue to kind of work his way through, and I'm not sure exactly his availability for this Monday night's game, but at the same time, I think he's supposed to play, but it's not like there's a very good possibility he's going to be on a pitch count, which then means that Baron Browning is going to be the guy that has to step up and fill those shoes opposite of Bradley Chubb. And Eric, I know you're high on Baron Browning. I'm high on Baron Browning. Seemingly everybody in Broncos country is high on Baron Browning. So there's a lot of different nuances to this. You can attack it from multiple different ways. Before we do that, I want to say hello to Phil, who's jumping in again. Phil is a great supporter of the show. What's up, Phil? How you doing, man? Says good evening, Luke. Luke, who's Luke? That's
just a typo.
Good evening, Lance, Eric, and Scott. I'm glad we don't get the Bills until playoffs. # let's ride. Yes, and Phil, thank you for joining us tonight. We do appreciate you. But going back to the Von Miller thing, I think that there was mostly kind of like a changing of the guard type of thing. Von Miller was a tradable asset. The Broncos, they needed to get some more draft capital, and fortunately for them to be able to give up that number 9 overall pick, the number 40 overall pick. That the Von Miller trade helped facilitate that, to give them that extra second round pick, that extra third round pick to go into this past season's draft, to be able to go and get a quarterback like Russell Wilson. It also gave them some financial flexibility. And Eric, I know you were just talking about that, but at the same time, Von Miller got a $100 million contract with $50 million in total guaranteed money.
Yeah, he's not going to see that. It's literally $35 million for 3 years, and then everything after that is we'll see.
Yeah,
3 years, $35 million.
Yeah,
and Denver couldn't even call.
To me, it was a changing of the guard kind of a thing. Von Miller's leadership style kind of wore thin with the locker room. They were trying to change the guard and get Justin Simmons, Cortland Sutton, Bradley Chubb, those guys the opportunity to come and lead this team, as Von Miller was kind of phasing himself out of the locker room. I don't mean to say it like that, but that's pretty much what was going on. It's being widely reported by multiple people in the Denver media, including Benjamin Albright, Ryan Edwards. I believe Troy Rank has talked about that as well. Mike Kliss has talked about that. So it wasn't just specifically the money thing. They were trying to move on from Von Miller, the leader, and let these younger guys come in and take the reins and really redirection this franchise back to a winning organization.
Yeah, and I mean, that's understandable. That's all very good reasons and points. It was very much a case they were ready to move on from Von Miller. There's the whole thing of that. It is, again, the fact of that his contract is basically 3 years. We'll see. Not a whole lot of money on those 3 years, really. And then it's, what are you going to do from there? This 6-year deal, it's not a 6-year, $120 million contract. He's not going to see most of that money.
No.
He's not. I mean, not even in Buffalo. He can have some great years. They're not going to keep him on with the type of numbers that they have coming up. It's just not going to happen. So the money situation for it isn't the reason why Denver moved on. And it shouldn't be used as a reason for why Denver moved on. The lack of leadership, because, I mean, that was well known for a while. Von Miller never really fully stepped up into a leadership role. And that got even more heightened with the whole thing about his Halloween party and other issues in the locker room. That's fine. And I'm not saying, that they shouldn't have traded him. I think that it was the right move to trade him, because getting that additional picks, basically, I don't think we get Russell Wilson if we don't trade Von Miller.
No,
I don't think George Paton makes that big of a trade without having that additional capital. But my biggest thing is to not even call him as a free agent is such a bad look. And George Paton's done a lot of great things here, but he's not infallible. This is a concern of his, to not even call and give him, because there was reports that, the money is what had Denver out. Well, who knows what he would have taken for Denver? Maybe he would have taken a little bit less to return with how much he loves it. Do I think he would have? Not really. But you can't say that for sure because they never called. They had no idea what the cost was going to be.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's a fair point. And to kind of pivot off of this, first off, we got Andrew Baker jumping in saying, "What's up, Valley boys and fam? I can't wait to shut up these sea chickens and focus on the rest of our season. Hashtag DVDD for life." Thank you. We appreciate that. Phil jumping back. Sorry, Lance. Dude, you're good. You're good. I'm just busting you around a little bit. Gary Leeds Palmer jumping in here. Good afternoon, Lance, Eric, and Scott. The Bills are for real. Yes, they are. They are definitely a real team. Go Broncos and beat the Sea Chickens. Absolutely. Dude, like, before we get into this breakdown, we got a great show, great loaded show for you guys tonight. I'm gonna do some season predictions, obviously our full season record breakdown, offensive and defensive MVP, bold predictions for the offense and defensive side of the football, best coach, then dive into the Seahawks stuff. I want your opinion on this. We haven't actually got a chance to talk about this privately, but that whole Russell Wilson article that came from Brady Henderson up in from ESPN.com up in Seattle, talking, like kind of relaying a bunch of the stuff that, like the behind the scenes stuff with Russell Wilson and everything. Do you think that that's like an inflammatory thing for Russell Wilson? He took the high road in his press conference, but is that something that is like, is it complete hogwash to you? Or do you think Russell Wilson is going to use that as like a super motivating factor to go and stick it up the Seahawks? You know what?
So on that article, I think it makes everybody look bad. Everybody in the whole situation, I think, looks bad about it, because with Russell Wilson, you look at it and his issues were, I mean, some of them were understandable, not improving the offensive line, not being allowed to have some sort of voice about hires and moves being made. Like, that's somewhat understandable with the way the NFL is going, where the quarterbacks have those say. Mm-hmm. But the issues that he had about the reins being pulled a little bit because they were losing games because he started playing poorly when he was chasing an MVP, that reflects badly on him. Pete Carroll not trusting him to get out of the slump, that's makes him look bad. Like, everybody looks bad about it. But as for what this does with Wilson, to me, it just makes him want to go in there and beat them even more. Every step of the way, Wilson has been mostly classy about Seattle and his time there. He hasn't really tried to dive into it. He hasn't taken his shots. But the day after he was traded, John Schneider and Pete Carroll, they all came out and they took their shots at Russell Wilson. And they have consistently taken their shots at him since then. He's declining. His legs are shot. Like, all this stuff like that, talking about his attitude. They have consistently taken these shots about it. And yeah, you hear that and you listen to it. It's not that, it's a little similar to some of the stuff that was said about Peyton Manning after he left Indianapolis. Jim Irsay came out and made a couple comments about it. And unlike Russell Wilson, Peyton Manning made his feelings on that very well known. Like, he talked on it. So I think it's going to add to the fire for it. It's going to help it. But I hope that it doesn't drive him to try to do too much, because we know that when Russell Wilson tries to do too much, bad things happen. So hopefully it's a more balanced, just being willing to do what is needed to go in there and get the win. Cody W comes in with a $2 donation and said, "Who gets first sack? Chubb needs it." This is actually a good question. And one of the things, part of our topic tonight is predictions for the season. And this one actually can lead into it. So Lance, who's your first sack?
My first sack this season is actually going to be Draymond Jones. I think that Austin Blythe, I had their roster pulled up earlier, but that interior offensive line is not great for the Seattle Seahawks offensive line. They also have 2 rookie starting tackles, so this is like flip a coin. If it lands heads, that's the way you go. You can roll a dice. It doesn't matter. Whatever it lands up, someone is going to get that first sack. Obviously, that's a very dumb statement, but I think Draymond Jones going against Austin Blythe, going against that Gabe Jackson is another guy there. I think that Draymond Jones is the guy to get that interior pressure on Geno Smith, who doesn't step up into the pocket very well, and like eliminate that edge rush. He's going to get run over by Draymond Jones. That's the first sack of the season.
I actually agree with you. I think Draymond Jones gets the first sack, and for the same reasons. When we get into the matchup aspect of this here in just a few minutes, I'll better explain why. Gabe Jackson, Austin Blythe, and Damian Lewis are not a great trio.
No, they're not.
Lewis and Jackson were the worst guard duo in the NFL last year. Out of 80 some odd tackles who played over X amount of snaps, I can't remember what it was when I was writing up the article the other day. They were both in the bottom 20 in terms of pass blocking. Like pressures allowed, they're just consistently in the bottom 20. Gabe Jackson is quite powerful, but he's always had a little bit issues with, the quickness inside, and that's where Draymond Jones wins. So not only do I think Draymond Jones gets that for a sack, my bold prediction for the defense is Draymond Jones gets over 12 sacks this season, which would be a huge step in his production from what he's done previously.
So I'm so glad we're going to bounce this back and forth, because it's going to kind of be a quick back and forth, guys. We've got season record, MVP, offense, defense, bold predictions, and stuff like that. You're going with your bold prediction of the defense here. My bold prediction of the defense this year is also my MVP of the defense this year in Pat Surtain. Like this is the easy choice, but my bold prediction is Pat Surtain leads the NFL in interceptions this year. Like his footwork, his ability to mirror in coverage. There's some change of direction stuff that you have to kind of worry about. But I think this defense with the attacking front five that front seven they're gonna have is gonna allow for a lot of opportunities for Pat Surtain to really go and get his hands on some footballs. I believe that Surtain gets double-digit interceptions this year in this defense, and also he's going to be the MVP of this defense. So.
All right, give me a number. How many interceptions exactly?
11.
11?
11. I think he gets 11 interceptions this year, which would be obviously tops in the NFL, but one of the higher numbers we've seen in the last decade in terms of interceptions. I think that was what Trayvon Diggs got last year. Mm-hmm. And Trayvon Diggs is not the player that Pat Surtain is. In this defense where he can be opportunistic with an offense that has the opportunity to run the football very well, to score a whole lot of points with Russell Wilson throwing the football all over the yard, I think that there's going to be opportunities for him to drive on the football a lot this year. And he showed me enough this last season. My draft evaluation with him as a player was pretty well spot on. I didn't think that he was going to be the greatest fit for the Broncos. I thought Caleb Farley, Gregory Newsome, and then J.C. Horn would have probably been better options for the Broncos. But Surtain it's a fourth cornerback for this Broncos team. When he came out this last season, he fit right into what they were doing. The Broncos changed up their scheme a little bit, get him into press man coverage and stuff like that. I think you're going to see Christian Parker do a very good job with the secondary. Ejiro Evero kind of morphing through that cover four, cover two high, two man stuff like that. Surtain's going to explode this year. Like that's the guy.
Yeah, my team MVP was going to be Pat Surtain, but I kind of wanted to be different from Lance. I ended up giving it to Draymond Jones, getting that over 12 sack number. No, I would say that probably like 13 or 14 sacks. I won't push that 15 mark. But my bold prediction for the offense, again, it goes to sacks. They allow less than 30 sacks. That's my bold prediction for the offense. A combination with Russell Wilson's mobility, even if there are concerns about his legs and how much he has left in them, I think that they're going to do things to help keep the pressure off of him a little bit and ease up the sack numbers, keep him protected, help that body less than 30 sacks. Kenneth comes in with the $4.99 donation, says, positive prediction. Javonte and Gordon combined for 2K rushing yards. Sad prediction, neither Chab or Gregory play all 17 games. I could see both those happening. I think Javonte and Gordon combining for 2K rushing yards is plausible, especially after Hackett's comments today about sticking with the hot hand. And with Chubb and Gregory's injury history, I wouldn't be surprised if they both miss some time. Hopefully not extended amount, but I would be shocked if both of them play all 17 games, or even either of them, individually.
Yeah, I was actually just going to go with that. I wouldn't be surprised to see them play 24 combined total games. So 12 games apiece, like with the injury history and stuff like that, like 12 games apiece from them. Eric, if I said you will get 12 games of Randy Gregory and 12 games of Bradley Chubb, maybe not at the same time, or you can have a set of dice to roll it to get your number, which would you prefer? Which would you take? Would you take the 12 games or would you gamble on more?
I'll probably take 12 games.
I would much rather take the 12 games because I think that's probably what's going to be the most likely to happen here. And guys, so KB jumped in here and gave his bold predictions and whatnot. Please jump in the comment section here. Give us your bold predictions. What do you guys want to talk about? This is a conversation for everybody to have here. With KB, going back to him really fast, talking about Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon both combining for 2,000 yards. I actually was going to go with that with my bold prediction for the offense and say that both of those guys are going to rush for 1,000 apiece. Like that was my big prediction, was they're both going to rush for 1,000 apiece, and they're both going to get at least 6 rushing touchdowns. Like that's a bold prediction. I went in a different direction though. Go ahead.
Now, with the Gordon thing, with him getting 1,000 yards, his injury history is what makes me pause on that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, but I with Nathaniel Hackett's comments, the rushing with the hot hand and stuff like that, that to me leads me to believe that Melvin Gordon, when he has that good series where, and who knows, he might have a good game where he breaks a 60-yard run or something like that. He's definitely capable of doing that. We watched that last year against the New York Giants in week 1. So there's a possibility of Melvin Gordon rushing for 150 yards in a game. Javonte Williams, not the hot hand, can't really get it going. Like there's definitely a plausible way, a combination of things to happen for both of those guys to rush for over 1,000 yards this year. I wanted to go with that bold prediction, but I'm going to go in a different direction here. I haven't really looked at the DK Metcalf stats, but there's something with me in Courtland Sutton this year. And I believe that not only is he going to be obviously the best receiver on this team, he's going to be a top 7 receiver in the NFL. He's going to finish with 100 plus catches, 1,400 plus yards, and 10 plus touchdowns with Russell Wilson throwing the football. That's my bold prediction for this offense. And he is also my offensive MVP this season. When we talked about doing this idea for you guys, we decided to go away from Russell Wilson. Pretty much everything we're doing is going away from Russell Wilson. Give bold predictions, because obviously the quarterback's the most important position. He's going to be the best addition to the team. He's going to be the best offensive player. He's going to be the MVP of the offense. Get away from the Russell Wilson conversation for just a second here. This ties into that. Courtland Sutton, with Tim Patrick not being available, obviously, we don't know what Jerry Jeudy's going to look like. KJ Hamler's coming off that injury. Montrell Washington's a rookie. Tyreek Cleveland is still coming back from his throat injury. We just don't know what this offense is going to look like. Jalen Virgil's a rookie as well. Courtland Sutton has to be that guy this year. I believe he's going to. Like, he's fully healthy. He looks like that menace guy, that big catch point radius guy. Like, he's going to be a massive player. 100 catches, 1,400 plus yards, and 10 touchdowns. Top 5 receiver in the NFL this year.
Yeah, he's my team MVP as well. Now, rapid fire. Which coach do you think ends up as the best coach, most impactful? And what, besides Wilson, of course, who's the best addition to the team?
Best coach, most impactful coach is the guy that we thought was going to get poached as potentially a defensive coordinator in this league, Christian Parker. I talked about him briefly there for a minute with Pat Surtain, but he's such a great secondaries coach. He does a great job with the safeties. He does a great job with the cornerbacks. Coached up Pat Surtain, not that he needed much coaching, but he's also turned around Ronald Darby. His footwork technicality issues that he had back in Philadelphia and then back in Buffalo were huge. And with the limited time that Darby saw last season, he was way better than that. He was way more sticky. He was way more tight in his coverage. He actually, like, his fluidity and the way he moved his footwork and stuff like that, his hand placement when he's in trail technique was way better. Now he's got a better slot cornerback in K'Wan Williams to kind of work with. Christian Parker is going to take this secondary to a new level this year, guys. Wouldn't surprise me to see the Broncos end up in the top 10 in interceptions this year, because of what Parker's able to do, and Ejiro Evero on the front side creating pressure and causing havoc for the quarterback to throw into tight coverage from these cornerbacks and these safeties. Like, Parker's going to be huge for this team.
Now, quickly, your best addition.
Best addition, probably the same guy that you have right now, DJ Jones, the interior defensive lineman from San Francisco. Yeah. Based on what I saw from this defense in preseason with their run defense, DJ Jones is a guy that projects as a high quality run defensive player. In fact, if you listen to Orlando Franklin talking about him on 104.3 The Fan, they graded him in San Francisco. Orlando Franklin did an internship as a coach for the 49ers this last season, and every single week they had to grade their players. And Orlando Franklin, being an offensive line coach, graded out DJ Jones as the second best defensive lineman on that team behind Nick Bosa. Like this is a dude. The Broncos got a guy, and Orlando Franklin raves about his ability to get after the passer as well as an interior defensive lineman. So DJ Jones is easily the going to be the best addition to this team.
Yeah, DJ Jones is my best addition to it. I mean, looking at it, it wasn't super for me. There wasn't much thought to it. With what he does, he's going to help open up everybody else on the defense. His reliability as a run defender and being able to let Draymond Jones get after the quarterback a little bit more, not have to second guess for the run, I think is going to be huge. And then my best, most impactful coach, Dwayne Stukes, finally seeing a solid special teams unit. Like that's the biggest thing. Is I think we'll finally see that, and it's going to have a positive impact on it. All right, now the final things before we get into talking about the game and the matchups here.
Well, hold on. Let me grab this comment from Andrew Baker really fast. He says, "Do we have to be playing with a lead for our defense to excel, or do they just keep the points down like last year?" I think it's a combination of both a little bit. The offense obviously has to play well, keep the defense off the field, let them do their thing, but they're gonna keep the points down. This defense is spectacular, guys. Like there's again quality coverage players on the boundary in Surtain and Darby. You've got Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons. They can be multiple in their coverages. Caden Stearns. This pass rush might be a little bit underrated. Just all really depends on the health of the players. But they're a ball hawking, flocking defense. They're going to keep the points down. Fact of the matter is this, though. They're going to get helped by this offense because I don't think that this offense is going to be, the 17 points per game offense. Like that should be blatantly obvious. They're going to get help from the offense this year, and that's going to make them better. Like this defense is going to be spectacular. Bold prediction, top 5 defense in the NFL this year. Again.
All right. So record prediction.
10-7.
I have 10-7 as well. We're at in the division.
3-3 in the division. They're going to split everybody. They're
no. I mean, what placement?
They'll be second in the division because of a tiebreaker. I believe that the Chargers are going to lose twice to the Chiefs, and the Broncos are going to beat the Chiefs at least once. So there's going to be your tiebreaker.
I have them third in the AFC West.
Ooh, man, why? Why is that?
I think that the Chiefs win the division. I think the Chargers win a game or two more.
Yeah, that's fair.
Playoffs.
Yes, they'll make the playoffs. They'll be a 5 or 6 seed.
I have them as a 7 seed.
Sorry, I said 5 or 6. I meant 6 or 7. So yeah.
And how far do you think they get? Do you think they get past the wild card round?
I believe that they can win in the wild card round. I do believe that they'll win in the wild card round. Going with the Bills winning the East and with the Chiefs winning the West, they're going to be your 1 and 2 seed. You'll get a you'll get a matchup of an AFC North team and or an AFC South team. Obviously, I believe that the Broncos, if they get that 7 seed, they go against a 3 seed Indianapolis Colts team, who I think is going to win the AFC South. I think they have a puncher's chance there. Even going into the AFC North, the Bengals are kind of scary to me. I think that that offense is insane. Obviously, their defense I think has some holes to exploit. It would be a good matchup there. And then Baltimore, I have no respect for them. They're the other team that I think that would make the playoffs there. I have zero respect for them with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback. You have to be able to throw the football in today's NFL, and if you can,
and he sure threw it all over Denver last year.
He hit 2 deep completions, and that was pretty much it. So,
oh no, he didn't. No, he was a lot more than that. But anyways, I think they make it to the divisional round, beating out one of the things, and then I think they get creamed by the Buffalo Bills.
That's exactly what I wrote down. They're gonna get matched up against the Bills, and they're gonna get smoked. The Bills are as they should be, everybody's Super Bowl winning prediction. Like honestly, that's where we're going to go here. The Bills are going to be the guy.
All right, now time to get into this matchup Monday night. We don't have much time left of this. So few key areas we want to talk about here. Obviously, quarterbacks versus the whole defense and defensive coordinator, the offensive line versus the defensive line and edges, the run game versus the run defense, and then the secondary versus the receivers. We're going to do this for the Broncos offense against Seattle's defense first, and then Seattle's offense versus Denver's defense first. So Wilson against Clint Hurt and the Seattle Seahawks led defense. They are going to a 2-high system, which is going to pull Jamal Adams back away from the line of scrimmage a little bit, which is concerning.
Oof.
I mean, Jamal Adams has his issues in coverage and everything, and playing as a 2-high, you got to be both safeties have to be effective in coverage. They want to do this to try to disguise. Like when I was watching this and researching this for this article that I have, which you guys can read on milehighhuddle.com, it just got published a little bit ago. They wanted to disguise what their safeties are doing a little bit. There's no disguising what Jamal Adams is going to be doing.
No, there's really not, because he's a bad coverage defender as a safety. Like he's a box defender. Like he's decent in coverage. Oscar comes and says he's decent in coverage. He just can't catch. He's okay in coverage, but he's much better moving towards the football than he is away from the football. That was literally my very first note was the key matchup between the Broncos offense and Clint Hurt from the Seattle defense is Russ Wilson in cover 3 versus cover 2. If they're going to rotate safeties and they're going to rotate Jamal Adams down, yeah, they're show single high. Pretty easy to identify where number 33 is at. And, he's coming vertically. Quandre Diggs, on the other hand, the guy rotating to the backside and playing that single high center fielder, that's a high quality safety there, guys. He has a lot of range. He has a lot of ball skills. This dude is phenomenal. Is that a matchup that the Broncos can try to figure out to exploit with the fact that they want to push the ball vertically? That's what Russ Wilson likes to do, push the ball vertically. It's what Nathaniel Hackett wants to do, pushing the ball vertically. If they're going to run cover 2 and take away those deep shots, can Russell Wilson target the middle of the field? Because, again, middle of the field closed, single high safety, middle of the field open, double high safety. What happens when you run 2 high safeties? The middle field is open, obviously. Russell Wilson historically doesn't do a great job targeting the middle of the field. If they're going to run a lot of those cover 2 looks like Erick's talking about, that is a matchup for the Broncos to try to watch out for and to try to exploit. And with this offense where they want to attack in the middle of the field and vertically, like it's something definitely that you got to keep your eye on. I'm very intrigued by that matchup, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, the issue here is Russell Wilson doesn't have, the best pedigree against 2 high safeties because of his lack of desire to attack the middle of the field. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup, and I think it's going to be a lot on Hackett calling the game to where they can take advantage of the 2 high safeties and getting Wilson to attack the middle of the field a little bit more. I think that Denver has the slight edge here simply because Jamal Adams, like him in coverage. I mean, I think you'd still be able to open up the deep shots and find the deep shots on that side of the field just because he's not exactly quick or fast or anything like that to be a 2 high safety. He's a big box safety that does extremely well at getting after the quarterback and defending the run, but moving him back farther against the line to cover that up, like you're just opening up so much more for the Broncos offense. Denver offensive line versus Seattle's defensive line, I think, is an interesting conversation.
We actually have a question about that from Peter Middleton. How will Shelby Harris do? This was one that I kind of highlighted. It was Dalton Reisner and Quinn Miners against Shelby Harris playing that 3 technique, the 2i3 technique. I think that's a big matchup that you got to kind of watch out for, especially in the passing game, especially with Dalton Reisner. I think that Shelby Harris, with the ability to kind of slice across the guy's face, get that interior, that A-gap penetration, is a big issue, especially with Lloyd Cushenberry there as well. They have a lot of issues in pass protection on the interior of this offensive line. I want to see them all kind of meld together, and hopefully the Broncos kind of understand that that's the one big defensive line threat that the Seahawks do have. I mean, they've got a couple of quality edge defenders. Boye Mafe is the guy I wanted to kind of highlight here as well. But Uchenna Nwosu as a rotational pass rusher for the Chargers for a couple seasons, he's going to start opposite side of that. Darrell Taylor is another player that seemingly is another quality guy that is like a rotational player. But Shelby Harris is really that guy. To me, that's the matchup you really have to watch out for, is specifically Dalton Reisner against Shelby Harris.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find the number here that I have. The Seattle Seahawks have a pretty good defensive line. I mean, Shelby Harris, we know what he can do. Al Woods was really good in the middle for them last year. Poona Ford was really good against them. They had one of the better run defenses. However, they lost some very key players. Carlos Dunlap left. Rasheem Green left, who had a solid year for them. Bobby Wagner is gone. They're going to be turning to Cody Barton. Jordan Brooks had a really rough year. Can he bounce back? So in terms of the defensive line and edges, it's almost a wash for me, just simply because we have no idea what Billy Turner or Calvin Anderson is going to be doing. I'm going to be, is Quinn Miners going to take that next step? Seems to be what are we going to get? A Lloyd Cushenberry, Dalton Reiser? Like, there's just question after question on this. But I look at it and what Seattle lost on their defensive line. They lost over 100 total pressures. They lost 2 really good run defenders, and they replaced that with Shelby Harris, who has his issues as a run defender, well documented, well known among Bronco fans, and Uchenna Nwosu, who has plenty of issues as a run defender. Like, they lost a lot on that defensive line. Boye Mafe being a rookie, obviously that is something that we can't really figure out how much you have. Darrell Taylor is fine as an edge rusher for them, but he's not a guy that really scares me. A lot of technical issues, not exactly super explosive, not super strong. They have the pieces to win in the trenches. It's just going to be a lot of them have to take a major step forward. Camden says, hold on real quick. Camden says Brooks is really freaking good and holds the franchise record for tackles last season. Jordan Brooks, he has the franchise record for tackles in a season, but he was not good last year. He was really bad. He also had quite a bit of I think missed tackles. Like, he had a high amount of them. And Divine Comedy says, don't dare say good things about Seattle. These hosts get super duper upset if you. No, it's not that we get upset.
No, man.
Like, it's a conversation. It's a debate here. You guys, obviously, being fans of Seattle, you guys are going to think a lot higher of your team. We're analysts covering the Broncos. We have fandom there. Like, obviously, we're going to take a little bit higher of them. We'll see what the results are on Monday. The thing is that we've tried to bring in facts, and we tried to do this last week with you, Divine Comedy, as well. Try to bring in facts to back up our points. Like, obviously, a lot can change, but it's, we're using facts to back it up here.
Yeah, and Divine Comedy, I owe you an apology for taking a shot at your name this last week. That was something I don't typically do. I was just trying to have some fun with the conversation, so I do owe you that apology. Garth Knight jumping in here with the $5 super chat. Is everyone not going to the Monday Night Football game going to be listening to the Manning Cast? I would if I could. I don't actually have TV, so I've got to do some creative things to watch the game as far as streams go. So finding the Manning Cast is actually damn near impossible in terms of streaming. So I won't be able to do that. Eric, how are you watching the game this weekend?
I will probably, if they're streaming it on NFL Plus, that is probably how I'll be watching it. I don't have cable, so I don't have a way to it. Yeah. Now, as for moving back to the conversation, Denver's running game versus Seattle's run defense. This is one of the areas where I have the edge to Denver. Mm-hmm. And it's not because of the offensive line. It's because of how good Javonte Williams is at breaking tackles, mm-hmm. and how good Melvin Gordon is as at making tackles miss. Losing Bobby Wagner, didn't have the best year last year. Jordan Brooks, he had some rough moments last year. Clint Barton, right? That's his name, Clint Barton? No, not Clint Barton. Cody Barton, I think is his name. Clint Barton is, Hawkeye. Anyways, they have their issues at the linebacker. And then again, I mean, if Jamal Adams comes down, that's going to help their run defense a good amount there, because Jamal Adams is really good against the run. But I have the slight edge to Denver, as I said, because of what Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon could do to make defenders miss and breakthrough tackles.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Getting these guys on the move. The only one thing that I do have a concern about is with moving offensive lines, guys that move lateral back and forth, sideline to sideline. You do see a lot of like holes open up for penetrators. That is the one thing that I am kind of concerned about with a guy like Shelby Harris, is the fact that he may not be like that stack up and two gap guy, but when it comes to penetration, breaking hands off of offensive linemen and shooting a gap, that's where Shelby Harris does kind of succeed as in the running game. Aside from that, though, let's see what these edge defenders can do. Boye Mafe had his issues as a run defender at Minnesota. Uchenna Nwosu, lots of running issues before as a Los Angeles and San Diego Charger. Darrell Taylor, not the best run defender at the edge position. Like there's a lot of ways that the Broncos can really do this stretch zone, which we haven't seen yet. We have not actually seen that going back to watching these preseason games. That's probably because Nathaniel Hackett wants to be super vanilla and not show anything they're going to try to do, get creative in the running game, get creative in the passing game. They're just trying to run basic stuff and stuff like that. They've pretty much hidden everything that they want to do for the most part, outside of some shifty, creative third down packages. But in this running game, that's where you got to attack with these guys. Attack those edge defenders, get those guys moving laterally, and let Melvin Gordon, who excels in an outside zone scheme, by the way, that's exactly where he excelled at in Wisconsin, was the outside zone. He ran for 2,000 yards as a Wisconsin Badger and has done that for the majority of his career in the NFL. Javonte Williams, with his I think the lack of patience for him is definitely going to hurt him a little bit, but his ability to run through arm tackles, which is what outside zone creates for you, is a lot of open gaps and open lanes to run through and arm tackles. I'm right there with you. I think that that's the biggest thing, is the fact that the Seattle Seahawks don't have a great defensive line in terms of run defense. And you now have two running backs that do great in running in outside zone and through arm tackles and stuff like that, making guys miss. I'm right there with you.
Sorry. I just have to disagree with you here a little bit. With the run defense on their defensive line, Al Woods and Puna Ford were two of the better run defenders on the defensive line last year. Shelby Harris is the weak link there. It is Jordan Brooks and Clint Barton, or I keep saying Clint Barton, Cody Barton, as the issues with the run defense up front with it. Cody Barton, when he has taken the field, it has been extremely rough. It was rough in the preseason. Jordan Brooks, his average depth of tackle, which is something big for run defense here, like obviously the farther back, the more yards you're allowing, was 3.6. 3.6 yards gained on a run before he made his tackle.
Oof.
That was like bottom 5 or 6. So when I talk about Jordan Brooks not being that good, yes, he put up some good tackling numbers, but when those tackles are coming almost 4 yards past the line of scrimmage, it's not exactly great. It was one of the worst numbers in the NFL last year. That is where the issue is, and that is coming from playing behind a really good defensive line last year against the run that ate up a lot of space. He has issues getting off the blocks to shoot the gaps. So that is the issue there. And Chase Wellner says Singleton has a lot of tackles. LOL. Yeah, Singleton's not very good. Accumulating a lot of tackles is not an indication of being a good linebacker. That is exactly true. Tackles are probably one of the most overrated stats there are in the NFL, like in sports.
Yeah.
Like, it's extremely overrated.
Run stuff percentage. PFF does actually a really good job of tracking that, where you get runs for 1 yard or less, or specifically going into runs for negative yardage. Like the percentage of tackles that you make that go for a 1 yard gain or less is one of the best statistics to track in terms of run defense efficiency. Mike Purcell was like 13.9% a few years ago. Like that, it's an amazing number to be. 13.9% of your tackles come for a 1 yard or less gain. So that's how you go in that one. Let's pivot off of this really fast, because tired of talking about bad run defenders and stuff like that. Guys that don't know how to flow to the football, like Jordan Brooks. Let's go to the passing the football here. Broncos offense in terms of passing the football. What's the one matchup you cannot wait to see when the Broncos are on offense and throwing the football against the Seattle defense? I've got a great one in mind.
Sorry, what was that? I was reading one of the comments here.
So Broncos passing attack. The one matchup you're most excited to take a look at in terms of the Broncos having an advantage against the Seattle defense.
So when I was watching the Seattle defense from last year, keeping an eye on the players that are actually on the team this year still, I couldn't find anyone that could really, surprise. This may surprise some. I don't see anybody that could really handle Albert Okwuegbunam in coverage. To match his athletic ability and his size, I think your best bet is Jamal Adams. And then they were really bad at corner last year. Tariq Woolen, he's showing a lot of promise. That seems to be heading towards a good pick for them. Kobe Bryant as well. It seems to be a really good pick for them. Obviously, they're both still rookies. Got to see them develop. And I think that Tariq Woolen, if he gets matched up against Courtland Sutton, will be some interesting battles to watch. But Albert Okwuegbunam, I don't see somebody on this defense that can really, handle him.
You just hit my matchup exactly. Courtland Sutton versus Tariq Woolen. I cannot wait for the fireworks of that. You want to talk about length, athleticism? They're both about the same size. I think Tariq Woolen's 6'1", 205. Courtland Sutton's 6'3", 215. Both super long, both super aggressive at the catch point. And this Seattle defense fits exactly what Tariq Woolen does. That cover three, that press man stuff that he was known for back at UTSA. Like that's a big matchup that I cannot wait to watch. I am in agreement with you on this one because Jordan Brooks is not a coverage linebacker. Cody Barton's not a coverage linebacker. Albert Okwuegbunam, this could be a good matchup. Does Russell Wilson figure out a way to target him though?
I mean, that's something that you got to try to do by design and everything. And I do want to say Camden comes in and actually makes a pretty good point, saying time of possession, Brooks and Bobby were both going for that record because the defense was on the field all year. Russ was keeping the defense out to dry for years. Not so much the last part of Russ keeping out to dry for years. I think for that, you got to look at your coach who ran on first and second down 80% of the time and had one of the lowest success rates running on first and second down, especially last year. But they were dead last in time of possession on offense. They were on the field for just over 25 minutes of a game, which was dead last. So time of possession, yeah, that was a big thing. Defense was out there. Defense got tired, led to more mistakes by them. But I don't see Geno Smith in this offense being much better in terms of the time of possession this year. You took a significant step back. That is going to impact your running game that Pete Carroll loves to do. And you don't have the big playability that you had with Russell Wilson as you do with Geno Smith, because Geno Smith isn't a good quarterback. He can go in there and somewhat protect the ball, which is why he won the job, and kind of dink and dunk his way down the field a little bit inside and playing within the system. So I don't think that the time of possession is going to be a much different this year.
No, I'm right there with you because you had a quarterback in the quality of Russell Wilson that you lean on the running game, you lean on his ability to extend plays and then create first downs for your offense using his arm. And you don't have that anymore. Like you might have a decent running game up front, and that's a big question mark with that offensive line. But then on the backside of that, you don't have the deep shot prowess, the threat of a guy that's a mobile quarterback that can run for a first down, get those 4 or 5 yard gains on third and 3, 3rd and 4. That's a big issue to me. So I'm not quite with you, Camden. I do appreciate you jumping in here though, and having a conversation with us. This is actually becoming a lot of fun. Quick rapid fire for you, Eric. We're running out of time here. Let's go to the Seahawks offense versus the Broncos defense here. Obviously, Geno Smith, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. Obviously, with this last couple of segments here. What's the biggest thing you're looking out for with Geno Smith in terms of going against this Broncos defense and Ejiro Evero?
So actually, it just matches up with this comment from Oscar here. We have a good time of possession. We can have a good time of possession by running the ball. Our O-line is pretty good, but to be fair, we could struggle too. Your offensive line is starting Damian Lewis, Austin Blythe, and Gabe Jackson. Austin Blythe has consistently been one of the worst starting centers in the NFL when he has started. Gabe Jackson and Damian Lewis were the worst starting guards in the NFL last year. Starting duo in the NFL last year. Both of them were in the bottom 20. Damian Lewis was bottom 6, I believe. Like, I think he was that 6th worst. And Gabe Jackson was like the 16th or 17th worst. A lot is riding on the 2 rookie tackles and seeing what they can do. They both showed a lot of promise in the preseason, which is great. Hopefully they can stand in there and hold up a little bit. But I think Denver will be able to get the best of them. I think Denver will be able to take advantage of the issues in the interior of the Seahawks offensive line.
I'm right there with you. And I'm going to actually go to the outside of the offensive line, talking about Charles Cross here really fast, because Charles Cross, as praised as he was as a pass protector at Mississippi State, he was not necessarily the best road grader in the running game. And he's going to have to go up against Bradley Chubb. Like that's a big matchup to watch for me. Bradley Chubb coming off the injuries, we have to see him take that next step. We really do have to see him take that next step this year. He's got a rookie offensive tackle in front of him that, sure, he moves well. He always does a really good job mirroring in pass protection. But Bradley Chubb's one of the best edge defenders in the running game every single season. He may not get after the passer very much. Let's see, the last fully healthy season he played wasn't even a fully healthy season, was 2020. Where he came back against the New York Jets, had 10 pressures against the Jets in that game, against lower level quality offensive tackle play. Not to say that Charles Cross is that kind of a guy, but Bradley Chubb, like this to me is a definite big matchup to watch, with his ability to win in the running game, his ability to win in the passing game, and that's a bad matchup for the Seahawks.
Yeah, and again, let's see here where it is. Oscar, we had a good running game last year. The only thing we did was upgrade the line. Your running game last year was good. It was 11th, but that was helped so much by Rashad Penny beating up on 4 of the worst run defenses in the NFL. The Arizona Cardinals, the Detroit Lions. I can't remember the other 2 teams off the top of my head, but the highest one was rated the 23rd overall defense. 31st, 28th, 24th, and then 23rd or something like that. Maybe 20 and 23rd. Like, that's what boosted that running game up so much, was those big games from Penny beating up on terrible defenses.
Well, it also helped a lot that, over the last 6 games of the season last year, Russell Wilson also was playing at an incredibly high level. He threw for 15 total touchdowns and 3 interceptions, had a passer rating right around 100, and was averaging about 270 yards per game throwing the football. So you had a quality level quarterback playing there and opening up a lot of stuff for the running game. So, I'm missing on that again.
Penny could go off. What he showed in those 4 games was great, but when he played a good caliber defense, the Los Angeles Rams, he really struggled. And then there's the rest of his career where he was just absolutely terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Penny finally got healthy and finally put it all together to go out there and play. Or maybe it was a flash in the pan and that has died out. We'll find out. But Denver's run defense last year, despite their issues, was still a pretty solid unit. I can't remember where they ranked DVOA, but they did all right. And they actually did upgrade their run defense by bringing in DJ Jones, who had some of his best games against the Seattle Seahawks offensive line, because he was able to control Gabe Jackson and Damian Lewis. And there is a lot riding on Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross against the run. And Charles Cross, especially facing off against Bradley Chubb, that's a tough matchup against the run.
Yep.
Bradley Chubb has consistently been a good run defender. So I got to go give the advantage here to Denver's run defense because of that interior offensive line the Seahawks have. Is they seem to be what they are. Gabe Jackson was good a few years ago, but he has declined. Austin Blythe has never really, stood out as a run blocker. He did well in, I believe, Kansas City as a pass blocker, but that was about it. There's a reason why they decided to move on there as well. Same with St. Louis. And then as for the wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs for Seattle, This is where I think things can get interesting. Trying to cover DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett is going to be interesting. It's going to be a tough task for Patrick Surtain and Ronald Darby. Staying disciplined with two high safeties will be a must to help them out a little bit, give them that added protection over the top with the big playability of DK Metcalf, because Geno Smith, he doesn't have the best arm in the NFL, but he can still get the ball downfield to potentially make big plays happen. So you got to do that. And I think, and that's one reason why you got to watch out. Seattle has a chance in this game. I don't want to sit there and say they don't. I don't think they win. I think Denver wins easily, but I'll never say a team never has a chance in a game because so much unknown. We have no idea what's going to happen. For all we know, knock on wood, players can go out there and get severely hurt right away. We don't know what's going to happen. I have Denver winning this game, and I have them winning comfortably by more than 10 points.
I do as well. I threw it up last week. I'm going to do it again. I believe it was Divine Comedy came back and forth with me on it. We have a bet, and we'll come back to this on next Friday. Greg Smith jumping in here saying 31-10. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that, especially with the comments made from the Seattle Seahawks side of things. Pete Carroll doing everything that he can to rile up the fan base to get them to boo Russell Wilson. All that's going to do is add fuel to the fire. This is going to be bad, guys. The Broncos are the better team on paper. They have the better quarterback. They have the better running game. They have the better literally everything except for coaching staff, because we don't know what the Broncos coaching staff looks like in actual NFL games. I don't care. This is the Russell Wilson revenge game. This is the you guys tried to trade me twice. This is the you guys didn't want to pay me again. This is the you guys tried to shit on me. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. You guys tried to crap on me. I know, my bad. You guys tried to crap on me and make me look like the bad guy. And now I'm going to put it directly in your face over and over and over again. Russell Wilson throws for 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, gets another one on the ground. The Broncos win 42-10. That's how it is. It's a blowout.
And real quick, Oscar, we'll be back on next Friday. We're on Friday nights. So after the game next week, if you want to come in and rub it in our face that we were wrong or whatever, feel free to join us and do that. Like, hey, we're wrong. Well, if that happens, we'll admit it. But there is always a rapid reaction. It won't be us this week and it'll be Monday night after the game. So if you want to tune into that as well, feel free. But You're welcome to join us next Friday and rub it in if you want.
Yep. All righty, guys. With that, we're going to have to get out of here. We've actually broke our hour time limit here. But thank you all again for joining us on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. As always, guys, follow us on Twitter by finding me at Sanderson MHH, for Eric at Erick Trickel, for Scott running the ones and twos behind the scenes here at Scout Kennedy. Also, guys, while you're at it, at DVDD_pod. That's what we're talking about every single Friday. You guys can get some takes on there from me mostly, but pretty much just keep on what's going up with the Dove Valley Deep Divers at DVDD_pod. Also, guys, at Mile High Huddle, please, that's some other account where you guys are going to find breaking news and analysis regarding your Denver Broncos, film breakdowns, opinion articles, anything regarding the Broncos, you're going to find it there. Facebook users go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. Join in with that conversation over there on Facebook. It's a great community over there, guys. We have a lot of fun over there as well. Folks, financially, if you're able to do so, please head over to huddleuppod.com. That's the merch tent, guys. You get yourself a hat. There's t-shirts. There's coffee cups. Something to support every single show, specifically the Huddle Up podcast and everything like that. We know it's tough out there right now, but if you guys are able to do so, please go over. It's a great way to support the show. And we really do appreciate that. If not, guys, even with it's not super chats and stuff like that, go into the merch tent, subscribe wherever you guys are watching the show. Please subscribe to Mile High Huddle on all of your social media platforms, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, no matter what. Subscribe to Mile High Huddle. Like every video you guys see, and if you love it, share it. Please share it and get it in front of as many Broncos fans as you possibly can, because without your guys' support, we couldn't do what we do every single week, which is cover your Denver Broncos. Now, Eric, I'm not going to stick around very long, but I do got to ask you, anything you've got going on this weekend? Any last words, man? How we doing?
Well, I'm half tempted to throw out a Broncos country. Let's ride. Man, you know, like, I'm happy with Russell Wilson, but there is no denying that is corny. Like, that is corny as it comes. And I'll take it. Like, it's better than the quarterback situations we've had. But no, I mean, I'm excited because, you know, a couple more weeks, 2 weeks, we'll do the show, and I'm immediately basically heading out to get on a plane and head down to Denver for the 49ers game and the meet and greet. So I'm excited for everybody that's going to be there for that. But other than that, we will see you guys next Friday to talk about a little bit about this game and break down the Houston Texans game.
Yeah. Yeah, can't wait to do these like we do every single week. We've been doing this for over 3 years now. Well, I guess going into year 3. Every Friday we do the breakdown of what we saw the last week, doing the extra film breakdowns and stuff like that, breaking down and diving into the game before. So that's going to be pretty much what we do over the course of this season. We're going to get into some draft stuff here soon as well. I know Erick is finalizing down his scouting report list that he wants to get kind of working on here over the next couple of weeks. I'm doing a lot of stuff on my own as well as in terms of the draft stuff. So there's going to be a lot of quality content coming to you guys from the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. But with that, guys, we have to say goodnight to everybody. Thank you again for joining us on the Dove Valley Deep Divers podcast. We'll see you guys same time, same place next week. Y'all stay safe and take care.